Okay, ready to go? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Blue Lake City Council meeting, our regular meeting of Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Please join us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you establish a quorum of the council, please?
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Mayor Potential,
Present.
Councilmember McKay,
Here.
Councilmember Scopani,
Here.
Councilmember Edgar.
Here.
And all are present. Thank you. And we are on item 3, approval of the agenda. I'll start with council. Is there anyone that would like to move anything around? See anything that needs to be changed? Okay, good. And so to audience, is anyone in the audience here for a particular item? Lori Ponte?
We're asking if you
This
want to
is
change
not
anything.
public comment.
Do you want to
Yes.
change something on the agenda?
I do.
Okay, what did you want to change?
The agenda. In the correspondence that I had, that's in the agenda. I just want to complete the conversation.
Okay, well, we have that conversation.
We don't have, you don't have all of this.
Oh, I thought we had all.
Give you the remainder of that conversation.
Well, I guess that can happen during correspondence then.
Yeah, you can give her a copy now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you're okay with how.
Okay, you can give it to us now.
Needs the latest secret or?
No, because that's an agenda item.
Yeah. We're gonna
Yeah.
leave it at the agenda.
When we reach that item, we will go through that.
Yeah. Try to do an alphabetical.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's that.
Thank you.
And then I do have a copy for anybody on staff that should have it. Oh, yeah. Great. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
It's item 11. All right.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, now we will proceed.
Well, no, just one question. Will it be added to the correspondence?
It will be. We will see how we're doing with time when we get to that point. We will hopefully be able to read everything in correspondence. So thank you. All right. Back to council. Did anyone want to change anything in the agenda from audience?
I
Okay,
will-
back to council for the approval of the agenda. I need a motion.
I move that that we approve the agenda as it stands.
I second.
Motion made by Elizabeth McKay, seconded by Chris Edgar to approve the agenda as it stands. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have an agenda. We are on item 4, public comment. The public is invited to present petitions, make announcements, or provide other information to the City Council that is relevant to the scope of authority of the City of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. The Council may provide up to 15 minutes for this public input session. To assure that each individual presentation is heard, the Council may uniformly impose time limitations of 3 minutes to each individual presentation. The public will be given the opportunity to address items that are on the agenda at the time the Council takes up each specific agenda item. Is there anyone here for public comment? Mr. Sawatsky, and then Scott, and then Becky.
And Julie.
And someone on
Julie.
Zoom. Julie, thank you. All right.
Can you turn the mic on, please? I think it's on. Yeah. Turn it on. Okay, pause for a second.
Sure. We're good to go. Thank you so much, Kent Sawatsky. I appreciate the ability to speak here today. Later on in the meeting, I will. You will be reading something to the record, and I will deal with it further at that time. But I also, since I was precluded from putting this on the agenda for some reason, I'm going to be putting you on notice at this time that the manner in which you allocate your staff's time to different funds, such as the sewer and water, is being done in a fraudulent manner. And now it's your obligation to go ahead and investigate that, because this is not a small issue. This is something that ratepayers may receive a whole bunch of refunds on, and I highly recommend that you check into that on your own. I've done a lot of research, and that will be an assertion. In my world, it's called politics, and people give me names. They've given me the name of a public meeting enthusiast. That was done by Ryan Burns, kind of tongue in cheek to kind of make fun of me. And then, of course, Mike Wilson gave me the name of, what was it? I have a hard time remembering what it was. Oh, Agent of Chaos. And so I've owned those names. And so now I have a website, which I'm in control of, called THC. And so we're going to be naming some of you people for what you're over. And so it's kind of a contest. People can give me different suggestions and stuff. But I feel your city manager will probably be Little Miss Whiny Pants. I feel that, and of course, we have the right to make this comment. You guys have to take it, basically. I'm not threatening violence. Your mayor, as referred to by her co-teachers, was idle brain or addle brain. And Rex Bone the other day was mentioned to be air. I meant to use that one, arrogant, ignorant, rude. And that's what I think Elizabeth McKay will be named as. So I will be in informal things, referring to you things such as the supervisors meeting by those names. I will define the names, and then we use like HPOG and things like that. We will use that. So that's part of the prerogative we have as people in the public. I have a major problem, and I think you'll find you have a major problem with your hiring of a city council member, being an employee, having spoken with all the different entities out there. That means 30 seconds left. Can you beep? What does that mean?
Mhm.
Your time is up.
Time.
You started the time. Well, I won't go starting now, so I won't take another 3 minutes. But I feel this is a totally inappropriate thing. You cannot have guidelines, which you have here, if you read them. I don't know if you even know the guidelines, but the staff, the city council members are really not to communicate with staff. And how can somebody work and not communicate with their coworkers? There's just a major conundrum here. Everybody I've spoken to in all other municipalities have said they have never heard of this before. It was alleged by Chris here that there was somebody on the Fortuna City Council. That was not true. And then so I did an email to the Ferndale one, and that's not true also. They said we definitely do not have anybody on the city council who's an employee. You're in for a major problem with this situation. Highly recommend that you read the comments that I made to you, and I recommend you consult with your attorney regarding this major conflict of interest. It's perceived to be nothing but payback. And so Chris Edgar, his opinion, my opinion, he's I guess you call it brown nosing, and there's one other term for it also, but it's basically to get a job, basically doing everything he can to support Mandy. Now he has a job, so come to fruition. One of my first communications with him, he didn't want to work with Caltrans anymore. What a coincidence. He's been very helpful for Mandy, and now he's getting paid back, I guess is what it is. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. You have some major legal issues that are coming forward, and I hopefully you will start paying attention to a little bit of what the public says.
Our next speaker is Scott. Is that your name, Scott?
Budget for follow that presentation. Not this, never mind, let's read it.
Becky?
Hi. So here we are again. I'm standing here once again to voice my concern about canceling commissions and city employees. Last year in June, I stood before you as a city employee was applying for a commission, expressing concern that this could possibly show favoritism to city projects or have influence in those decisions. That person at the time was not put on the commission. And now you've got a city council member also being a public works employee. Basically, you have a city manager supervising an employee who supervises the city manager. In making decisions for the budget, manager's review, wages, or benefits, he will have to excuse himself from those items because they could in the long run be a major conflict of interest. For the city to hire a sitting council member and not ask him to step down shows a blatant disregard for appropriate and ethical standards. So in the view of the public and the fair ethical practices of the state of California, we are asking that Christopher Egger step down as council member. Thank you.
Julie?
How can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Great, I would like to compliment the Zoom was very, user friendly at the planning commission, and I would love to thank everybody for being involved for, making sure that's happening, and that everybody had a really fun, safe Memorial weekend, honoring the Lord's servicemen. The one comment that this meeting is not considered on Zoom, that needs to be done, you never, by council, decided not to do this as an then meetings or in a negative should be uploaded as well. Recording in progress. But we should be recording these meetings as well, to humble or widely accept them. And maybe a little exciting, but put out, I was able to go and present our economic development meeting or comparative meeting, or that the same presentation. For the tax exams that was actually given out prior to the local, to another fit to the county, prior to any of our local or commissions receiving it. I don't think it was very appropriate not to have that at the, planning commission meeting. And not to have it here tonight. I think that's something that should be put in the webpage, the conference event, but figure it out to the public. I think that you have two members, here tonight that, moving forward, and stuff, in the agenda, would have been that video. They're there in person, and I think the council, it would have been like thing that they would have agreed to move out in the end of the evening. Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate everything you're doing, sitting with me.
Thank you. Scott?
I'd like to address these comments to Councilman Edgar. Now that you're a city employee, there are important issues relating to the city budget, how that budget affects employees, and other projects within the fiscal, reviews that I think will provide ample opportunity for the appearance of a conflict. It will make routine city business more difficult, and your continued service on the council will prove to be a distraction. For that reason, I urge you to consider resignation.
And there's someone else on, is that right? Verda Winona?
I don't know. That's no.
Winona Pitts.
Hi, I just kind of want to reiterate what Julie said regarding that master plan for the Powers Creek district. When I heard that, I thought that I actually thought it must be a mistake, that no one in Blue Lake had seen it yet, but it seems to be true. And I'm not really sure why no one on the council would be a little bit disturbed by that as well. Obviously the planning commission should have seen it. Obviously you all should have seen it before anyone else was seeing it, or maybe there can be clarification as to why you didn't and why they didn't and why it would go out of Blue Lake first. Maybe we need educated. Yeah, that's all I had to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Winona. Any other public comments? Marty?
Marty Granger. On the conflict of the hiring, I just feel that it isn't right. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair to any others that might have been wanting this job. So I just don't feel good about it.
Any other public comments? Okay. As these are not agenda items, we cannot address the comments during public comments, so we will move on then. Item 5, Alzheimer's Month proclamation. Is there someone here from Alzheimer's? Okay, now I recognize the purple outfit. Very good. All right. Very good. The Alzheimer's Association has invited the city of Blue Lake to participate in the longest day on June 21st in recognition of the impacts that Alzheimer's has on individuals, families, and communities. During the longest day, that, of course, the longest day of the year as well, The city and our residents are encouraged to participate in a fundraising activity in support of Alzheimer's awareness and or to wear purple as a visible show of support. As part of this request, the Alzheimer's Association has presented the City Council with a proclamation to proclaim the month of June as National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. We have that proclamation with us this evening. Did you want to make any remarks in addition to this?
I was just gonna thank you.
Okay, as soon as we do. All right. What is the pleasure of the council? Do you want to pass this first? We'll have
need to
public
take public
input, of course,
Do
after
public
that.
input
Can
first.
we move or?
We could have move in second and then public input.
Okay, I'll move that we do.
That we
Proclaim June
proclaim.
24th, June 21st, 2024 as National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Well, the
Yeah,
whole
the whole
month,
month.
I guess, not
Yeah.
just the day.
Okay, motion was made by Elizabeth Kay, seconded by Angela Shaw. Is there any further comment from council? Is there any comment from the public? Yes. And there's a hand up there.
Julie Christie.
Ken Sawatsky, I'm 70 years old. Really appreciate the Alzheimer's thing. All of us in this category have friends and family members who are afflicted by this, and it's very difficult. Parkinson's disease seems to be kind of related, kind of the same symptoms. And I have a brother-in-law who's had that for many years. My sister's taking care of him. I was speaking today with a very good friend, and his wife is mostly speaking because he has Alzheimer's and he can barely communicate anymore. Very sad. So he was a ardent duck hunter. Now he can't duck hunt. So he goes out and he talks to the duck hunters and he does bird watching instead. So it's very important for people to understand the consequence we have upon our society and the need to understand people that have that. And as other people get older, sometimes I see signs of early Alzheimer's actually in chairs sometimes. So anyway, thanks for the opportunity to speak on this topic.
Is there someone on Zoom?
Julie.
Julie? Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to thank, the council and for having this proclamation. And you, my grandmother, Alzheimer's, and it's a huge hardship on any family. And, I think one thing that's really important is, education on the symptoms. It's something that really can go undiagnosed for a minute and all the supportive care the individual can get, the sooner the better, really can help the family and can be a good source. So thank you again for having me, you know, dear to my heart. And as much education out there as possible, with my criticism, when we know the symptoms and signs, we can be proactive. Thank you again for having me.
Is there any other public comment? Justin?
So I don't usually make public comments. So this is kind of new for me. But when I saw this on your agenda, I knew I had to speak up. Um, as many of you know, I lost my grandmother not long ago, and she suffered from Alzheimer's and dementia. I'm actually thankful that we lost her to her CLPD versus Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is one of the worst things to ever watch anyone go through. My grandmother was the one person you would call if you wanted a phone number because she had everyone's phone number memorized. And for her to not be able to do that was one of the hardest things to see someone go through. And I'm really thankful that you guys would, I hope you guys really do make this happen because it's very important for those of us that did suffer and watch our family suffer through it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments on this from the public? Then I'll come back for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. City of Blue Lake National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, June 2024. Whereas there are more than 7 million Americans living with Alzheimer's dementia today, a figure that is expected to grow to as many as 14 million by 2050 if scientists do not develop a cure or effective treatment. And whereas 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's or another dementia, it kills people more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. Between 2000 and 2021, deaths from heart disease have decreased 2.1%, while deaths from Alzheimer's disease have increased 14%.
141.
141%. Thank you. Whereas the lifetime risk for Alzheimer's at age 45 is 1 in 5 for women and 1 in 10 for men. And whereas more than 11 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's or other dementia, in 2023, these caregivers provided more than 18 billion hours of care valued at nearly $347 billion. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is a local issue, our friends and neighbors need access to support services and resources to lessen the disease's impacts. In Humboldt County, it is estimated that 3,384 people currently live with Alzheimer's and related dementia. There are another 7,600 caregivers who are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's. And whereas fewer than 1 in 5 Americans are familiar with mild cognitive impairment, MCI, which can be an early stage of Alzheimer's, 90% of physicians say it's important to diagnose MCI due to Alzheimer's, but over half say they are not fully comfortable making that diagnosis. And whereas during June, the Alzheimer's Association invites Humboldt County residents to participate in the longest day on June 21st, held annually on the summer solstice, the longest day invites participants to fight the darkness of Alzheimer's through a fundraising activity of their choice or by wearing purple. Now therefore be it proclaimed that by the city council of the city of Blue Lake recognizes June 2024 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. The council thanks the Alzheimer's Association for providing services to people and families coping with dementia. Dated May 28th, 2024. Do you have a copy of this for tonight, or we'll just get it? We'll get it over to you. We'll get it over to you. Yeah. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
My name's Rhonda Johnson. I lost my husband to Alzheimer's last year. He was 67 years old. I want to thank you, Mayor Jones, and the council for this proclamation. You can help us achieve our goal of a world without Alzheimer's or other types of dementia by participating in the Walk for Alzheimer's, in either by forming a team or volunteering on the day of the event, or joining the walk committee, or doing all three. The walk will be held Saturday, October 19th at the Adorney Center in Eureka. To get involved, Google ALZ Humboldt Walk. That's ALZ Humboldt Walk. Thank you very much for the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that was item 5. We are moving now on to item 6. Resolution number 1229, a resolution of City Council approving a parcel map and accepting a dedication of an easement and authorizing the city manager to take any further acts that may be necessary.
I'm going to recuse myself because my daughter and son-in-law are partners with the Eliases.
Oh,
Not on this project, but in other ways. So I'm just going to
Well, I'll come get you and let's step out for a minute.
okay. So at the June 10th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the commission approved a tentative parcel map for Casey and Stacia Eliason for a minor subdivision to create 3 new lots. The applicant has prepared the parcel map, and it was reviewed by the city engineer and approved by the Planning Commission at their May 20th, 2024 meeting. The applicant has also begun construction of the improvements for the subdivision per the subdivision improvement agreement with the city. Prior to recording of the parcel map, the city council needs to review and approve the parcel map and accept the offers of dedication to the city of Blue Lake that are shown on the parcel map, which includes the following: what they're calling parcel J, an easement for ingress, egress, and public utilities along the east 2 feet of the subdivided property. Did you want to add to this, Gary? This is Gary Reese, our city planner.
Hear me all right?
Yeah, so I'm Gary Reese, work as a consulting city planner for the city of Blue Lake, and our firm also provides the city engineering services. So this is kind of the tail end of this minor subdivision process. As you noted, the Planning Commission's already approved the tentative parcel map and the conditional use permit for the proposed residential units. That happened in 2019. These folks have entered into a subdivision improvement agreement with the city. They've actually already started constructing some of the improvements. This is kind of one of the last final steps. They've prepared their parcel map. It's been reviewed by our senior surveyor, and they've determined it's substantially consistent with the approved tentative parcel map, and that it's consistent with the city subdivision code as well as the Subdivision Map Act. And it was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their May 20th meeting for consistency with the tentative parcel map. We note in our presentation there was a few deviations from the approved tentative map, mostly related to easements being moved around a little bit. Their detention basin was adjusted slightly in shape and size, things like that. And then, of course, this parcel J that the city would be accepting the offer of dedication on is something that was requested by the city for the truck route project. It's a 2-foot little linear strip behind the back of driveway that's needed so that that driveway will meet ADA standards. So that's essentially what's before you tonight. So the final action on this is being taken by the city council in reviewing and approving the parcel map and then accepting that offer of dedication.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to start with asking the council if they have any questions, then I'll open it up for public. Does anyone have any questions from the council concerning this?
I do. I'm a little confused. The documents that we have in our packet are kind of microscopic, so I'm not sure that I really understand this change. So is there other than this easement, is there a substantial difference between this parcel map and the parcel map from 2019?
There is not a substantial difference. The size and shapes of the parcels on the tentative parcel map are the same on the parcel map. The structure is essentially all in the same place. What they moved around really in easements, they removed some of the reciprocal easements. They actually had some for parcels 1 through 3 that were meant to be reciprocal between the parcels for parking and access. But that was really intended for when they wanted to do fourplexes on all 3 parcels access from Greenwood. They actually abandoned that proposal. They just want to do a single family residence and ADU on 2 of them. And that negated the need for having those reciprocal easements. Those parcels and those potential residential units could be easily accessed from this private road they're proposing without the need for those easements. So that was the primary change. Another one of the easements for like the detention basin was adjusted slightly. They did kind of a preliminary design for the detention basin, but once their engineer prepared the final improvement plans, it was adjusted slightly, so the easement adjusted. And then also the city asked for an easement that wasn't previously anticipated as part of the truck route project to make sure there was adequate room for the ADA improvements needed at the lot frontage along Greenwood. So those are the primary changes. A tentative parcel map is, they use the term tentative for a reason because you can make changes. They're usually minor, such as the changes proposed here. If they were substantial, like they want to create more lots or they're completely changing the configuration of lots, infrastructure is going in different places, those are more substantial changes. None of that really applies here. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council before I open it up to public?
This has been a long time in the making.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I will open it up then to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? I see a hand raised and then Kent Sawatsky. Julie?
Yes, I just wanted to thank, Councilman Member Caponi. I really appreciate the voice and, agent finding people to the detail. And I really appreciate that, I appreciate all the items, so thank you, Elise. I do appreciate that.
And Kent Sawatsky?
Kent Swatsky, I strongly supported the project at the Planning Commission level. I did wish to make notice, and there's a very good, and I really appreciate Elizabeth McKay and her Any Perception leading the dais and leaving the room and not participating. Unfortunately, at the planning commission level, we had two people that declared they had potential conflicts of interest. One said that a small sliver of the project was within the distance of their residence. The other one was contiguous to the project. Both of those people remained at the dais. If I recall right, both of them actually participated in some communication regarding the project, and then only one of the two voted. I think you really need to get an understanding. And I think you probably should go to your legal counsel. Again, I'm not throwing a monkey wrench in this thing. I think you can move forward with this. But unfortunately, legal advice was given that due to the need for a quorum, that the person with the least egregious conflict of interest was allowed to vote. I don't believe that's correct. A conflict of interest is a conflict of interest. You only had 4 people at the dais at that time, and that only left 2 people who actually legally could have voted on the project. I highly recommend that in the future you have your staff run this by legal counsel before making legal determinations regarding conflict of interest. It's a very good thing. Planning Commission had last Planning Commission meeting, very long, detailed. Highly recommend you all take the time to watch that and get the accessory documents. It goes way beyond what I've ever heard and very accurate by competent Humboldt County counsel. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Were you referring to Humboldt County Planning Commission had a presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there's no other further public comment, we'll move it back to the pleasure of the council. We need we need to receive the staff report and adopt resolution number 1229.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Angela Shull, seconded by Chris Becker to receive the staff report and adopt resolution number 1229. Any further discussion from council? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And 1 abstention. Thank you, Angela. You can tell her to come back in. All right, we are now on item 7. I'll wait a minute here. So thank you, Gary. Thank you for all your work. Wait a minute here for Elizabeth to come in. We are now on item 7, the Greenwood Truck Route Construction Contract Award, and this is an action item. The city has concluded the open bidding process for the Greenwood Road Truck Route Improvement Construction Project. The city received 5 bids, with the lowest responsive bidder determined to be RAO Construction Incorporated. RAO's bid and qualifications were evaluated by the city engineer and determined to be a qualified bid within the construction budget allocated for the project. The city engineer is recommending that RAO Construction, Inc. be awarded the bid and that the city manager proceed with the execution of the notice of award and subsequent contracting documents. The contracting documents will be reviewed by the city attorney and will be signed by the city manager upon the attorney's review and approval. Construction activities are scheduled to start in June. This project is funded by the California Transportation Department STIP program. The recommended contract award amount is $1,155,903. Okay, let's start with questions from council of staff, if there are any questions. Now, what's going on here right now is the laterals that are going in, which you determined we might as well have them happen since this is going to occur later. So is this, I know it's not the related topic, but is this going to work with the timeline and all with this?
Yes, and
construction?
actually the low bidder on this project is also the contractor was a low bidder on the
Oh,
lateral. So
okay.
so it's the
So
same
they're out there
contractor.
doing the
Yeah.
work. Okay, good. All right. That was the question I was concerned about, was how it was all going to work out time-wise. Other questions from council before I open it up to public?
I just wanted to note that I am really pleased that we have a local contractor who was awarded the bid. But not only that, that the majority of the listed subcontractors are also local. So, you know, kudos to the process for hiring local when we can.
Good point.
Can you tell us who our other 4 bidders were?
It's on here. Hooven, Mercer, Fraser, Kernan, Sunberg.
Those are subcontractors.
No,
No,
the
those are
subcontractors.
the other.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
subcontractors are
Never mind.
listed. Yep.
There's another.
Two different
There's
documents.
Sorry,
another page.
I saw the one.
It looks like this.
Those are the subcontractors.
The one that you need the magnifying glass for.
Oh, all right. Well, then it's not that one.
Oh, yeah.
That is the sub.
Oh,
You're
it's
right.
the
This one.
microscopic one. Oh,
Yes,
that one.
yes.
Yeah, I love
It has all their names across the top.
If you look at the technical memorandum
Oh, yeah.
submitted by the engineer, it goes through the review process and states who bids were received from. So it's like the page after the agenda report.
Yeah. REO Construction Company, Hooven and Company, Mercer Fraser Company, Kernan Construction, and GR Sunberg Inc.
Thanks.
I can read that. All right.
So it's just interesting to me that very number one, the difference in cost going across the top, is that really for that one item?
Well,
Because it ranges
for
from,
mobilization and demob.
yes.
Yeah. So mobilization and demobilization is it can sometimes be kind of a catch-all bid item, and that's a lot of times that's where different costs get buried. So one of the benefits or opportunities that REO had was that they're already mobilized on the lateral project, and so they were able to give a better price. So mobilization is usually getting all your equipment here, getting all your subs set up, getting your traffic control and everything established. If you need to get materials here, so because they were the contractor that's already working here and have their equipment here, they're able to make some reductions in that, and that's just an item where contractors, bidding is really an art form when it comes to projects like this, and that's why you have bid summaries so that you can go through and make sure that you're comparing apples to apples, and that's really where you start to see contractors moving monies around and potentially bearing profits in different line items and things. So
Can you remind us about the lateral project? So we approved that to a certain amount of money. So does that mean, and that's why we didn't see we didn't have to approve the award of that
Right.
contract, is that right?
yes.
And can you tell us at what the price was that RAO came in on that project?
I believe it's around 300. It was below the engineer's estimate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Can I make a request that when we have things like this in the packet, if we could maybe have that broken up into a couple of pages so we can actually maybe just string them together and read them?
Sure.
Because I wasn't able to view this on a computer, so I just wasn't able to use it at all.
All right. If there are no more questions or comments from council, we'll open it up for the public. Kent Sawatsky and then Julie.
I do support what Councilmember Scholl said on this particular thing. It's great to have local people. Found it really interesting. I think 2 of the other bidding parties are actual subcontractors for RAO. That's a little bit unusual. And I think there was only one out of Anderson who's an out of the area contractor. My concern has to do with the management of this particular project by our city engineer. When we seem to not have the same quality of work we had when PG&E was doing the work in our streets, the metal plates are to a point where people are actually saying, well, I drive in the opposite lane of flow of traffic to avoid those metal plates. They're installed, in my opinion, in an inferior manner. There's such things as one of the sign things out here in the bicycle lane was left there with no sign on it, and somebody could possibly not even see that thing and run into it for liability. I also had a major problem as far as over the weekend, all these places who had cones, not necessarily in front of their, were not necessary to have in front of the residents, and they had to park somewhere else. That should not have happened. So I think you need to really make sure that your city engineer is correctly managing this project, the best interest of the residents, so that people can get in their driveways, they can still park when it's applicable. And hopefully this is not a trend that's being set as far as discounting the need of the public to still have access to their property during this construction project. So those are my major comments on this particular one. Um, and I guess I would have to say, I think we're going to maybe rebrand Blue Lake as the land of speed humps and ball bouts. I think that'll be our new name. We'll give Blue Lake. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Julie?
Hey guys, I did have a printed out too, it was very hard when filming. To get it, print it out, and just kind of review it, and, I don't know why we weren't reviewing this at the planning commission, there is some, letters in there dated prior to that. With the acceptance of these bids, we were told there that it was done, but it was not in the packet. Planning commission should have really looked at this, we should have time of the public, to review it, a little more, for anything out there, to council people prior, because it's been in their packet. So just a learning curve, it's public information, it should be out there, I'm still a little disappointed we didn't get any pulled out for school while they're in session. And I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna mitigate like a lot of our, summer events around this, I did put me a conflict on item 27, and Gary, if you're still online, just note this away. That we have been doing the new signage pedestrian crossing, and if we accepted their bid for that, it is actually 90,000 that we have it listed on the other budget sheet as item 27 for 55,000. So that was a little bit of number conflict I seen, and I also did some numbers on it had just done just striping and stuff like that, like holy cow, wow, what a price difference. But thank you for getting the crosswalk and put it there. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Jean?
First, I want to say that I really appreciate the idea of trying to slow the traffic down on Greenwood. I wasn't really a fan, but it seems lately that the traffic has actually gotten faster, and people are disrespecting the construction worker that's going on with Kent. Mentioned people are going down the wrong side of the road to avoid the plates. I even had a truck. There was a truck. I did call the owner on this speeding going down the wrong way during school. It is and within the construction, my biggest concern right now for my house is that when the trucks go by, it is shaking my house. If there's a load on a truck, it's shaking my house, and I don't know why. I know opening it up is maybe the water pipes or such are bouncing, but I would like to have somebody look at that. And if anybody would like to come, this is an open invitation. If anybody would like to come to my house, 420 Greenwood Road, about 7:15 in the morning. Okay, yeah, 7:15 in the morning. I know that's early. And stand there and watch the kids going to school and the trucks and the traffic and people going out of town, people coming into town. If I'll have the coffee on and just knock on my door and we can all watch. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? All right, we'll come back to council for the vote. What we need is to authorize the city manager to execute the construction contract with RAO Construction, Inc. for the Greenwood Road Truck Route Improvement Project and authorize the city manager to authorize and execute additional project change orders as necessary and appropriate within the total construction budget of $1,340,179.
I have one more question. So being as that difference between the bid and the full budget is about $200,000, can you give us an idea of what additional items may be rebuilt with that money?
We did have some discussion about alternatives originally in the project. We weren't sure how the bids were going to come in. Construction prices are all over the map right now. And actually, Jordan did a pretty good job. She was, I think, about $50,000 off on her engineer's estimate for this. So there are some additional items that could be added back into the project. We were pretty tight on features and I don't want to say beautification because the project doesn't really fund beautification, but it's possible to do really nicely designed and installed features that slow traffic down, but also look really nice in the community. So that could be something that we put a little bit more funding towards aesthetics for some of the features. There's opportunities to have some nicer landscaping. We've looked at other safety features that could be added. There could be additional amenities for what are some of the things we looked at? We looked at different landscaping features, benches. There's kind of a host of items, but we wanted to get into the contract and see where the numbers fell before we started to add back in items and features.
So
But all of it has to stay within the scope and authorization of what the STIP program has funded us for.
Right. Was moving power poles one of those items?
No, we are unable to move power poles. So we tried to do that originally. We worked with PG&E and could not get any authorizations to move power poles. So, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we have the bulb outs and the way the project is designed is because we have so many power poles within our sidewalk structure.
Yeah, that was a dream of mine to get that underground, but it was not possible. It's very expensive to do that. Any other questions or comments from council? Then I will entertain a motion that we authorize the city manager to execute this construction contract.
I make a motion as read.
Second.
Motion made by Chris Edgar, seconded by Angela Shaw to authorize the city manager to execute the construction contract with RAO Construction, Inc. for the Greenwood Road Truck Route Improvement Project and authorize the city manager to authorize and execute additional project change orders as necessary and appropriate within the total construction budget of $1,340,179. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay, we are now on item 8. And this is a public hearing consideration of resolution number 1228. A resolution approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendment thereto from the 2019-2020 funding year of the state CDBG program for accessibility improvements to the library. City staff is requesting authorization to amend our current CDBG library access improvement project by adding additional work and funding to the project. During the recent ADA inspection by the county, it was noted that additional work beyond what was originally designed is required to meet the ADA standards. The additional work is estimated to cost approximately $30,000, and staff is recommending amending the project budget to include additional funds for inspections and project management. The city's program income fund has adequate funds to support the activity, and the project meets the requirements and regulations of the program. And then it will be done. I hope.
And I don't know if I don't know if the state is going to authorize this amendment, but we're
Oh.
trying to get our ducks in a row in case we can get it through the process.
Well, I know the librarian is looking forward to having her um, flower box moved up against the
Yeah, and we've
um,
held off on
walkway.
doing the punch list work, hoping that we can get this amendment through the state because there's additional concrete work. But if we can't, we're just going to move ahead and do the project as it was designed at the time. At the time the plans were stamped, ADA plans or ADA code had changed. So we're kind of at a crossover. So if we don't get this approved by the state, we may have to go for a second project if they won't let us do an amendment. So we're not really sure how that's going to work out.
So even though the project was stamped and the codes changed, we have to go by the new codes, not the two codes in which it was stamped.
Right. Well, we can't pass the inspection. So we had a CASP inspector come out and there were a couple of items that and it's basically just a landing is just off by a small amount. Originally, it was fine. So we're trying to work around some items and see if we can see what we can come up with within our project scope. But if we had the additional resources, then we can make the bigger fix. So yeah, I mean, codes change all the time. So one minute you're in compliance and the next code change comes out and then you're out of compliance. And, there's those grace periods and things like you're always just, chasing those improvements as you're able to fund projects. So.
All right. Any further questions or comments for staff on this item? Okay, I'll open this up to the public. Is there any public comment on this? Kent Sawatsky and Scott?
Thank you. I recall being at a city council meeting where this project was discussed at some length. There was great community interest in the specific details of the project and the costs of the project. So I think Councilwoman Schell's question may have helped clarify what I was wondering, but two very specific questions. One is City Manager Mager mentioned that the landing was off by a small amount. Specifically, how much additional work of what dimensions is being required to meet the new ADA? I hope you can answer that question before you vote on this. And secondly, how is it that the city's contractors, planners, and engineers were not aware of this as they were proceeding to get the final design prepared? It seems like if you had a design and got it built in a timely fashion, you would have been able to accomplish that project as it was designed and not be out of compliance. So again, the cost of this and the dimensions are of interest to this citizen. Thank you.
Kent?
Well, I wish to ask the same questions that Scott did. Maybe you'll get an answer, maybe not. Having done ADA compliance, I'm familiar with how it goes, and I watched with great, I don't know, you call it regret, when Humboldt County had to jackhammer some of theirs out 2 or 3 times. Things were off by a 32nd of an inch or something like that, and they had to redo it. They had to grind them. It's amazing what ADA compliance by these inspectors is costing us. But again, the main question is, we're supposed to have competent engineers. They're supposed to keep keeping in line with what the current policy is. It doesn't change without latitude to move forward with your projects if you move forward entirely. So I think there were errors made actually in it. When I did handicap accessibility, I always made the fall a little bit less than required. I made the landings a little bit bigger than they were required to, and I never had any problems with this. It's just as far as exactly what's being done, the amount of money being spent, which actually should be being spent to help people redo their kitchens that are out of compliance, their bathrooms, you have to go ahead and do that instead of this, which is a great concern again to the public. I feel it's being misappropriated and used in a manner it should not be. So anyway, we're going to see whether they allow it to happen. I strongly suggest that public wants to know exactly what the flaws were, and not just this there. So $30,000 is a lot of money. We also, it may be just coincidental, but it seems like the city hall itself, the office space remodeled at the same time. Maybe that's a separate budget issue, but there's a perception out there that possibly that was included in this. Painting was included, a whole bunch of other things that really weren't ADA compliant related. And I personally feel that this money may not be properly having been spent. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Julie?
I prefer the privacy to thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, back to council then for more questions or comments, or a motion and a second.
Well, I'm curious about the dimensions that have to be corrected. Can you share that with us?
I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the exact dimensions of the compliance issues. I know they're very minimal. We even had issues with the book drop was off by wasn't even a quarter, was it an eighth of an inch? Less than an eighth of an inch. And it's an ADA compliant book drop, and it was ordered through an ADA recommended manufacturer. And so it can be as much as you know, depending on who your inspector is. Originally the entrance to the library was technically a walkway and not a ramp. Some of those regulations have changed with the new ADA regulations. I think we're getting caught up in some of that, but you'd have to ask the engineers for more specifics.
Well, as it's been pointed out this evening, that things are expensive, and even if you think that it's a lot of money for what we have to do, if there's some tearing up that has to occur or something like that, it sounds like it's going to cost money. And the community development block grant program, we used to give out a lot of money for people to use on their homes and bathrooms and kitchens and whatnot, but we have a income qualifying issue with the program. So I'm glad to see that this was able to be approved under it, because their income qualifications are sometimes very, very strict. So having said that, I will close the public hearing, and I'm looking for a motion and a second.
So we are looking for a motion to move
Approve the adoption of resolution number
1228,
1228
right,
and authorize the city manager to execute all required
and reduce
documents.
program income fund by $35,000. I move.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
You got it.
I'll
Okay,
second.
motion made by Angela Shull, seconded by Elizabeth McKay, to approve the adoption of resolution number 1228 and authorize the city manager to execute all required documentations using the $35,000 from our community development block grant program, right, is what it's called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Item 9. Contract with the County of Humboldt and the Humboldt County Sheriff for the provision of law enforcement services in the city of Blue Lake. Yay. The County of Humboldt and the Humboldt County Sheriff have provided the city with a new contract for the provision of law enforcement services to the city of Blue Lake. The new contract includes a new cost proposal along with a revised methodology for cost calculations. The new contract is a result of the many meetings and discussions held between the county, the sheriff, and the city's ad hoc committee, and reflects a price structure that is accountable and reflective of actual costs associated with the provision of services in Blue Lake. City staff is recommending that the council accept the terms of the agreement and direct staff to finalize the contract. The staff has provided the contract to the city attorney for review of substantial changes. If substantial changes are recommended, the city manager will bring the contract back to council for review and consideration. And I just want to thank the ad hoc committee members, Mandy Maker and Elizabeth McKay. I'm not going to thank myself, but anyway, it was very interesting to be involved in that process, and it really shows how when people work together, we can come to conclusions and we can come to an agreement. So that's the reflection of what we have here.
Agreed.
Questions or comments from staff? For staff from council?
Yeah. Is there any major changes to our previous contract?
Yeah. So
$45,000.
the
No, not
but
money. I'm just talking about service.
Yeah.
not necessarily service, but it was mostly the methodology for calculating costs. So our prior contract just had listed an amount.
Yeah.
There was nothing to back it up. There was nothing for the city to analyze or be able to look at for future increases. It was just kind of a base amount. So the biggest part of this is that cost methodology that I think is really critical. It was something that we had asked for when we received the first proposal from the sheriff for the over 300 and some $1,000s that they were proposing. So I think this puts us in a better position to at least analyze costs for the future. If there's cost increases or decreases, they should be captured through this process. And then there's also updated contracting language about how issues are resolved, timeframes for presenting cost proposals, so that we have adequate time to be able to analyze, plan for our budgets. So I think it's a much better contract. It gives everyone a better playing field. And like I said, it makes those costs more accountable versus just having, a dollar amount that doesn't have anything behind it for us to be able to analyze.
So does that mean is what you're saying is that then the sheriff's office will be able to capture data that then is provided to the city so that we can compare data from a year-to-year basis, like we should be doing?
Right.
Got it.
So
Perfect. Thank you.
just through the process, I mean, I really appreciated Regina Fuller and Brian Cornell meeting with the ad hoc group. We went through, because there was a lot of, this was a really hard process. It was a very stressful process. It was a very adversarial process. And I think, working with Regina and Brian to be able to really look at numbers and see where those numbers were coming from, it allowed us to get a better understanding too of how those costs are allocated. And I think the ad hoc did a good job in really analyzing those numbers and having a good feel and understanding of where those numbers were coming from, because we were able to catch some pretty substantial costs that that were removed, over $6 million in costs that we were able to have removed from that process because we didn't feel that they were properly applied to the process. And after review, the sheriff's department agreed. So it allowed us to really digest the numbers. And I think that's really important because of the way this process rolled out. I think it was really important to have numbers that had something behind them, and something that we can also look at in future. Because I mean, there could be times where costs can decrease. The sheriff's office could also get grants for certain items, and so there could be decreases there. So this allows all of that to be applied through a structure that can be analyzed.
And in kind of a related issue, some of us went to the Measure Z committee meeting, and we had an application for $35,000 to help us with this. And what happened there, and we actually decreased our amount to ask for 30,000. Well, what happened ultimately when we went back to see where Measure Z money went, a lot of the Measure Z money it was totally, I think it was about $4 million, but some people wanted $1 million here, $1 million there. It went very, very quickly. So the people that wanted just like us, $30,000, there was nothing left. It was really disappointing. But it did show that Measure Z money and that whole process needs to be looked at. And a lot of people mentioned that at the Measure Z committee meeting and also at the Board of Supervisors meeting. So something may change there. But anyway, we did try to get some money to help with that from that measure. Is there any other questions or comments from council before I open it up to public? Okay. All right. I will open this up for public comment. Kent Sawatsky.
And Mandy probably already mentioned it, but I did have a little communication with the sheriff. He's optimistic that funding, but staff may come up to a level where we will be sharing a deputy specified for both Trinidad and Blue Lake. Spoke with Eli over in Trinidad, who is the city manager there, and he confirmed the Measure Z process was a little bit embarrassing, and it hasn't been brought to light yet. But the worst lie is a lie by omission. And when you made this application for $35,000, it wasn't mentioned that you basically at that, if you had been awarded that, would not only have been fully funded our law enforcement, but you would have $7,000 extra to put in your general fund. When reduced to 30,000, that was only 2,000 extra. I highly recommend that you give these Measure Z people full information when you this will be done in the future. They will be looking twice at the math you guys use when you make a request. Having participated in this, I think the main person there was Ginger. I've known Ginger. She was the chair. She spoke, and just about all these people and I have been on this topic regarding Measure Z for whatever time frame since it first came on. I attended the first meeting and still attend the meetings. And your request was quite far down the list. Sometimes once in a while they have an extra $30,000 to put out for somebody at the last minute. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. It hasn't been finalized. But I think with the additional information they will be receiving on that, I think they will be a little disillusioned with the honesty of the lake when they make requests. They come out Tuesday.
There's two people on Zoom, Kat and Erica and Julie. So let's do Kat and Erica first.
Hi, this is Eric Dykehouse. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you. So thank you again for working with the sheriff again to try to get a lot of these points clarified and get a very clear contract. I do notice that there's no mention of animal control in this particular contract. Is that a separate contract, or are we not getting any animal control services?
Animal control, it's separate.
It's separate.
We're being told that it's separate. Continue with your
It is
comment.
separate. Yeah.
Okay, and are we going to be doing a separate contract then for animal control services?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Julie?
I would love to just thank you guys for clarifying and trying to keep this question with very yes or no, very appropriate. Thank you. I think the main thing that every community needs to prioritize is public safety and our infrastructure. So I really want to thank our council for listening to the public and the council people about this and consideration, have maybe some dialogue that everybody feels like maybe not constructive, but here we are with the conversation moving forward. So I do really need to think about this in the future though, because costs are only going to go up. And the need for public safety is only going to go up. So as much as I've thrown this in there more than probably 4 or 5 times, even if we could do some cool events like the medieval festival, the anything that we can do here in town, like that we can generate these funds to grants and all this other stuff, and those are are all going to be here too. The town's been a huge deficit. We know a lot. So that's what we keep saying as an internal community to prepare for these situations, the plan to be and to think better start hitting the ground running right now. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, back to council for
Can we get a
motion.
tiny,
Second.
just on that animal control issue, that's, the same, there is no animal control contract other than what we've currently had in place. Is that correct?
Right. We have a contract for animal control services with the sheriff.
Right, but it's the same as it always been. Okay.
Okay, so the recommended action is that we direct staff to finalize the contract for law enforcement services with the County of Humboldt and the Humboldt County Sheriff, and authorize the mayor and the city manager to sign the final contract documents.
Assuming that the city attorney doesn't find anything wonky in there.
Right.
Got it.
You'd like to add that to your?
Well, that
or
was in,
your
that was in the,
motion?
well, that was in the, that was
Yes.
in the, general
Yeah.
information component.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that was in there.
Okay. But
So
you
yes,
want,
I would make that motion.
you want it to be added to your
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Pending attorney approval?
Yes.
Something like that. Okay. All right. Is the
I'll second
motion
that.
clear? Okay. Motion made by Angela Shaw, seconded by Elizabeth McKay, to direct staff to finalize the contract for law enforcement services with the County of Humboldt and the Humboldt County Sheriff. Authorize the mayor and the city manager to sign the final contract documents pending approval by the attorney. Any further discussion from council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Okay, we have a contract. All right. Page 2. Okay, item 10, discussion regarding retail cannabis operations in the city of Blue Lake and potential changes to the city's cannabis ordinance. Discussion and direction. And we do have public comment on this item from Andrew Jones, which I guess I could read now, or I could wait till we open up to public comment.
Yeah, go ahead. So, I mean, wait, you want to wait?
Sure.
Can I share something
Yeah.
that I corresponded with the city manager in Rio Dell
Okay.
regarding the tax revenues that they get. And in 2021-22 for the dispensaries only, and they have 2 dispensaries, and evidently one is doing well and one is not doing well. But they received in 21-22 $59,961.49 in tax revenue. And then in 2022-23 it was lower. It was $54,847.11. And then in 2023-24 it was $43,876.36. They also have, which you visited. I didn't visit. I had to leave that meeting
Yeah, I was going to
early.
report on that with
Okay.
during the report, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's related to this too. Yeah, they have a
Well,
business.
they made a
Huge
lot
business.
more off of the growing part,
Well,
but
yeah.
that's not what we were asking for. We're only asking for the dispensary part. So
That's
sounds
good
like we might
information.
have some.
Do you want to explain a little more what you mean by the growing part?
Growing marijuana.
We would cultivation.
But I mean, but the business factor and how you're saying they made more.
Well, the business
Oh,
in Rio Dell is a huge, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this whole parking lot, 2 levels of marijuana grow, indoor grow. It's called Northwest Flower Company, I think is the name of it. And we took a tour of it along with the League of Cities because Rio Dell hosted the League of Cities meetings on Friday, May 3rd. I was going to report on this. But anyway, Elizabeth had to leave early, but I stayed and went to the tour. And it's a huge operation. And the man is doing so well that's doing this that he has the footings already ready for two or three more of these same buildings. It's in their kind of like their business park would be similar to what we have in what we have as our district. So that is a huge operation. I mean, he was throwing around figures like his PG&E bill is $40,000 a month. Just really incredible amounts of money going through. But that is not really something that we necessarily want to get into. I mean, I think what we're talking about is just a dispensary, and Rio Dell's about twice the size of us. I think they're like
Yeah.
3,400
Yeah.
people, and they have two dispensaries. One you said wasn't doing well. So I mean, it's pretty even to figure out from what they're experiencing how it might happen here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing with cultivation too is the way the laws are worked out with that, that all the taxes, pretty much all the overhead is taxes. Like the growers don't, unless you're doing like what that guy has, which is massive amounts of growing. It's not feasible for someone to make a company that's small and make a small company and grow cannabis. It has to be massive to do anything.
Yeah, and
Because
he figured that all out.
the taxes are insane.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through a licensed broker to even get it into the dispensary.
Right. I mean, he had all the figures. I guess he had been in jail, in prison, and he figured this all out while he was there. He read about it. When he came out, he decided to get into this business. I mean, even when he was hiring people to trim, he found out that it was cheaper for him to buy an $85,000 trimming machine rather than pay for trimmigrants, as they're kind of known, people to come in and trim. So you're right. It was huge, and small farmers, for instance, they're having trouble in Garberville and that kind of thing because of the taxes. But for him, it's a completely different thing. But anyway, that's one way to go, which I don't think is the direction that we necessarily want to. But back to the dispensary idea.
Right. I just wanted to share that information because someone was asking, well, what kind of tax revenue is there?
Mhm.
So this is what they have received. So, we are half the size. So, and who knows?
Yeah.
There's no
And
guarantees for anything.
when you said you met with the city planner, manager,
City
city
manager.
manager, was there any indication of an increase in those 3 years, an increase in arrests for
You
drug
know what?
related
I
issues?
I emailed him back. I haven't heard back. yet.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so I that is a question I asked.
Yeah.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
I did just a little bit of work today trying to figure out um, where we might land in that direction. But I
Yeah.
haven't. I know that the sales have gone down in the last 3 years. I looked at some figures for 2023 for Arcata and for Eureka, and they Arcata had 7.4 million in gross cannabis sales, and Eureka had 10.7 million. But I'm hoping to find some tax revenue numbers because I'd be curious. I'll look up Rio Dell and see what that rate breaks down to. Because that's a missing piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandy, you were looking at an ordinance that the city of Weed, ironically, has in their city. I don't know enough about how large Weed is. Is it about the same size as Blue Lake?
Right. No, it's bigger.
It's bigger. Okay.
Not by much.
But you had some templates of how they came up with an ordinance.
I think at the last meeting, you guys were provided with their ordinance. And our city attorney had recommended we use that as kind of a starting block to kind of look at how they've handled their retail operations, the limitations on the number of licenses. I've been a little bit more interested in just the enforcement side and the kind of oversight side and what kind of costs could be associated with that for the city. I know with cultivation, there's a lot of oversight that the cities are required to participate in. There's the track and trace programs, and there's a lot of upfront costs associated with that. So that's kind of one of my concerns is just, that kind of cost benefit. Is it a financial or time burden on the city to manage something like this, or if smaller retail establishments are less burdensome in that manner? So that's kind of some of the information that I've been trying to gather. And I have to say, honestly, I haven't spent an extreme amount of time on this, but I will be reaching out to some of our smaller partner cities to kind of see how that's affected them and their budgets and their operations. Because I know when all this first started, there was a huge investment that the cities had to make, a financial investment, staffing investment, just to implement the regulatory framework.
Mhm. Yeah. What's Trinidad's policy? Do you know?
I don't believe they allow. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure. I feel like they don't allow retail cannabis, but I'm not for sure.
I haven't seen any.
They do.
I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think
I
they
haven't
Yeah.
seen any there.
No, I was
I mean, it's
talking.
kind of there's the cities in California, I think it was like 54% of cities don't allow any type of cultivation retail. So, I mean, we're not an anomaly by any means. But, I think looking at I think the biggest thing is looking at what the impacts are and then looking at the structure that you can put in place to limit the number of licenses. And I think that's pretty straightforward. And there's a lot of cities that, that do that.
Yeah, I would like to see that if we go forward with this. But I mean, if they're getting 59,000, well, even on a bad year, 43,000 a year in taxes, does that go to the cities? So that could offset the cost of whatever overhead we might have implementing this.
Have you found any overhead like just for the retail stops that's going to be burdensome on your guys' side?
No, I mean, like I said, I haven't really delved into it too much. There's still a lot of layers. There's a lot of licensing layers, state licensing requirements. So I haven't really got too deep into it. So I wanted to kind of see what direction you guys were going tonight. I feel like we're kind of at a point where if you want to direct staff to really look at this and give us maybe some parameters to work within. I think that you're kind of at that point. It seems like your discussions have really revolved around a very limited number of small retail, opportunities, limiting that by limiting the number of licenses, looking at zoning. That's another opportunity to regulate and control is through your zoning. So I'm looking more to you guys tonight for some guidance on what the next step is. This is the second time you've had it before you. I know it's not, a super high priority item, but if you want staff to really start focusing, then I need to have that direction because we will need to have some legal counsel on this as well. And I think that's probably pretty minimal. I mean, there's so many cities now that have this framework in place, that we can work from. But
Um, there's like I want to know like how far away from the school it should be.
Oh yeah, that's
I think that's already regulated by
Okay, that's
the DOT.
regulated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And playgrounds and that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. I mean, we're a small city, so
So
it's
it
kind of
limits
hard
the
sometimes.
limits
With a few
Yeah.
100 yards, it might be
the
limiting
triangulate.
us. Yeah, you can only be in this small section. Um, all right. If there are no more questions, I'm gonna.
I would like to share that
Oh,
I talked to somebody who's owns two dispensaries today,
okay.
and they just shared some of the ups and downs and whatnot with me. And I asked them if they thought that Blue Lake, was a viable location for a dispensary, and they thought it might be. Um, they had a lot of information to share with me, and I think that if we want to move forward, we might have a working session and invite one or two business owners to come and chat with us about some of these things. Um, because of, that's a huge piece of it. I mean, we can do a lot of work and spend a lot of money to make it possible, but if we don't have a business owner that wants to be here, that can make they can keep the store open, then all that work might have been for nothing. We have a lot of competition surrounding us, Arcata, Eureka, McKinleyville, and even over in Glendale, I believe. So, that's maybe one piece we don't want to look at.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the fact that we're going to have something like this passed doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to start a business here. Then it's on the onus of the business owner to decide whether they want to take a
It's
chance
not an
on it.
unburdened cost to pass this into
Yeah.
make it a resolution.
Well, I'm just saying, if we're going to go to all the trouble to get that far, we might want to consider the feasibility of the business before we spend more money and time here in Blue Lake getting to the point where we pass a resolution to allow it.
Well, I mean, when we first passed this idea of not having any retail or growing or manufacturing, we did allow for people to have their own private gardens, indoor gardens, and there was a $150 fee to have our building inspector come out and look at your indoor garden. And to my knowledge, no one's taken out that $150 fee to have a small garden. Um, I have a greenhouse. I could do it, but I don't necessarily want
Be a
to.
walking greenhouse.
Oh, okay.
I
You look
I
at
wonder
it.
if
I asked for the greenhouse because it's a huge carbon footprint.
It is a huge carbon footprint. Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if someone would
Yeah.
be willing to come talk to the council.
Hmm.
If someone would be willing to, at least like, have that honest conversation about, here's what the startup costs were like, here are some of the concerns that we have in doing business. Here are some of the benefits of doing business. I don't know if there is a person out there who would be willing to do that.
Like a
but-
government person from another city?
No, I think she's talking about a
or
business
even
owner.
a business owner.
Business owner coming, like a guest
I mean,
speaker,
it's yeah.
essentially. I mean, I was wondering if the Economic Development Commission would like to look at this
I think they could definitely take this on.
first.
Yeah, that's a good
Take a
idea.
look at it
Mhm.
That's fair.
and
That's a good
do,
point.
do some legwork on it and then bring it back. Because I know when we did our survey, and this has been, years ago now, there was it was pretty evenly half and half as far as dispensaries go. Clearly, we didn't want the manufacturing and that kind of thing, but we did have a pretty even amount of people. Now that could change if we did another little survey, I suppose. Um, are there any other questions or comments? We can
I have a
continue.
comment. It hasn't been read yet, but I agree with Andy's comment.
Well, I was going to read Andy's
Yeah.
comment as soon as we
Mhm.
get into public comment.
Mhm.
Well, why don't I go ahead and start the public comment now? And I will start by reading a letter we got from Andrew Jones. Thanks for having the retail cannabis discussion on the agenda. I'd like to voice my support for allowing cannabis retail within Blue Lake. Nationally, attitudes are changing quickly about cannabis, as seen in recent news, such as this article indicating there is now more regular use of cannabis than alcohol. And he has an email site you can look up. I discourage the council from thinking cannabis retail is capable of carrying more than the standard business tax and regulation liability. Retail is hard. There are already undue burdens placed upon cannabis businesses by the county and state, and the market is already saturated with options. That said, allowing retail within city limits is an appropriate step to capture some revenue from residents and visiting users. Thanks, Andy Jones. So that came in. And with that, I will also open up the public hearing to public and Lorraine Ponte.
Yeah, it's Lori, as you know. Um, so I would like the council to watch this Zoom presentation that you've just done. I don't see the value in having cannabis sales. I worry about the fact that we don't allow smoking in any establishment in the state of California. So the discussion about having a cafe where people can come and smoke and enjoy and imbibe is very confusing to me. I realize that we are lacking any kind of retail, but that the cannabis is a luxury. I know that this discussion was brought to council by a council member who said that she had spoken to people who have to leave Blue Lake to go to Arcata to buy their cannabis and I mean they have to leave Blue Lake to do most anything. And so I just would like this to be a further discussion instead of something that is taken seriously at this point in time. I realize that the council is desperate for revenue, And I don't really have an answer. I think all the things that um, are difficult to figure out. And I think that there has been effort made, to do grocery or any kind of practical use for people to not have to leave Blue Lake, to, get their bread and milk and whatever, it be included. But this is just like, I think you were wise not to talk about this and elect to do this early on. And I think that you guys need to pump the brakes for this further discussion, because we have a beautiful school, we have a beautiful park, we want people to come and enjoy and celebrate the weather and the area that we have. And I think cannabis needs to be part of it because it's acceptable everywhere else, and people imbibe and can grow their own and do whatever. But I think that the city of Blue Lake, maybe we should be an exception and not have a retail source. I'm older, I don't realize it's not been something I've been interested in. And I think it's everywhere else. And maybe we need to be the exception, be a beautiful place where people can come, enjoy the river, and enjoy the sun and all the events that we offer, and not need to take that direction. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Kent Sawatsky and then Aaron.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm in 100% agreement with Lorraine.
Okay, you need to be on the microphone if you want to hear it.
I am Erin McClure, and I would like to say that I'm in 100% agreement with the previous speaker, that I do not believe that Blue Lake needs to get into the drug business. Thank you.
Well, I highly recommend you don't waste any of your staff time on this. We have plenty of other things to do. Um, for those of you who've been tracking this extensively, and we're soon going to be a Schedule 3 drug. It no longer will be what it is. You'll be able to get it from CVS Pharmacy. You'll be able to get it through Walmart, and there's no way that dispensaries will even be able to compete. Your person down in Rio Dell will be out of business probably within 2 or 3 years at the very most, because as soon as they open the borders, superior product to what he's growing can be grown in multiple other countries for probably $30 a pound versus what he has to get there. It's probably $7.50 minimum to even break even. So uh, we do not have the demographics here to support this. We can't support any other business that you're going to. I can't understand why any shop person would even consider coming out here for the same reason that you can't get anybody else out here. 1,200 people. We're not on a main thoroughfare, like it's not like Eureka, where the dispensaries are closing on a regular basis, going right through the middle of town. It's not like Rio Dell, one of the first dispensary areas you come to, other than down by Bimbo when you come into Humboldt County. You're going to catch a few there, like Garberville and a few places, but they have a location there in traffic, and so you're, my opinion, pretty well wasting your time on staff time. And I highly recommend that unless you can actually get somebody to come in here and promote and say they want to do it at that time, then you might be interested in putting a little staff time in it. Otherwise, we have plenty of other things for staff to do. They have an opportunity to speak.
Julie.
Yeah, thank you guys again for Bill. I'd like to concur with Lynn, like definitely warrants more conversation. This was originally picked up 8 years ago, just to put a little timestamp on it. It actually was me in the first year kind of coming in here. And there are some planning commission minutes that are available on our city webpage where this conversation did originally kind of start. And I think what this is them now, I think they want a lot to kind of what we've got going on with the fact that, this series like 8 years ago, still willing to think about it, and idealize what it could be potentially. Yeah, we have other things that are only 3 years old that we're told that we have to follow through. And so I think it's kind of a little contradictory, but our city manager explained that city staff was recommending that City of Blue Lake develop strict measures. Community experience by non-cannabis related business. So that bylaws, again, back in our 2016 minutes, there's only 3 for planning commission that entire year, but easy to find. But again, back to the fact that we've discussed a lot of other projects that actually are a lot shorter time frame than this. And we have not allowed them this much dialogue, and so we appreciate them continuing it. Thank you.
Becky?
I actually want to agree with Lori and Lily and Kent there. I don't think we're too small for something like this to even be considered. And after being a business owner and a retail business in this town for 24 years, it costs thousands of dollars a year to be able to bring people here and have a smart business plan. Nothing's going to happen. And fortunately, we did. Thank God we've closed our businesses because, that's time. But it's not a retail. Blue Lake is not for retail. None of it.
Any other comments? Okay, back to council for some direction. How's the Economic Development Commission doing in terms of their agenda? Seems
Yeah,
like the last one I went to, it was very full, but
I think that
I don't know.
I think the EDC is a great place for this to land. It's an easier, um, it's an easier lift. They're always really good about doing outreach. A lot of them have really good contacts, and I think they really enjoy, looking into projects and getting information. So I think if you want to kick this to the EDC and ask them to do some additional research, and I think that's a great opportunity. And that's what those commissions are for.
That's what
It's
I'm
really to
thinking
do
too.
the legwork on a lot of these issues so
Yeah.
that by the time it comes back to council, they're making a recommendation. It's a recommendation that's been vetted through the commission and through staff. And so you're getting the best information as possible.
Yeah, why don't you have that on their June 11th ECD meeting at 4:30?
How do you mean it's being vetted through the commission and through staff? Does that mean that you're going to be doing some work as well?
Yeah, I mean, staff always works with the commission. So, but I personally think of the commissions as an arm of staff. I mean, we use commissions a lot. They're there because they have an area of expertise, or they have an area of interest. So it's a great way for us with limited staff members to be able to increase our capacity to do additional research and outreach and footwork. So definitely staff would work with EDC, but they can take on a lot of the lifting for issues like this.
Yeah, I mean, they may decide to do their own little survey of their own or something. I just like to see it seems like it has to do with economic development. So I think that would be a good place to start, and then we can move on from there. If they have a recommendation
Yep.
for us.
Sounds good.
Okay, I think that's pretty clear. Any further comment on that? So that's direction to staff on that. We're on item 11, council correspondence. And let's see, we had some correspondence that came in this evening, and we had something in our packet as well. Let's see, from Kent Sawatsky, there was something concerning employment of Blue Lake City Council members. Please forward this communication to the Blue Lake City Council members and appropriate staff as required in your City of Blue Lake City Council roles and responsibilities. Protocol Manual, page 20, which states access to information. The sharing of information with the City Council is one of the City Manager's highest priorities. The same document on page 26 states anti-revolving door policy. For a period of 1 year after leaving office, state law prohibits council members from accepting employment with the city. a fair legal argument can be made that it is more egregious to obtain employment while a council member. A city council person is one of the bosses of the city manager. The city manager is the boss of the city employees. Common sense would dictate that this is not a relationship that could be void from undue influence. The same document on page 10 states, in no manner, either directly or indirectly, shall a council member become involved in or attempt to influence personnel matters that are under the direction of the city manager. No member of the council shall be by suggestion or otherwise attempt to influence or coerce the city manager concerning appointments to city office or employment. Again, a fair legal argument can be made that this is a quid pro quo arrangement. It is public perception that it would be financially difficult for an employee to not support the suggestions of their boss regarding all city business before the council. To make application for a City of Blue Lake job is without a doubt a violation of the requirements contained in this document. Again, a fair legal argument can be made that only one of the two following options would eliminate the perception of a financial conflict of interest. One, council member Chris Edgar would resign his position with the Blue Lake Department of Public Works. Two, council member Chris Edgar would resign his position on the Blue Lake City Council. I would suggest, because of the perceived conflict of interest, council member Chris Edgar do one of the above and cease to participate until the four remaining Blue Lake council members can meet in closed session to confer with the city's legal counsel. Please acknowledge receipt of this communication and read it into the record of the next Blue Lake City Council meeting as communication to the council. And then the other one is from the Pontes. And it starts, it's kind of a little bit backwards the way it goes, but it starts with one. After not being able to physically attend last night's city council meeting and attempting, okay, so this is from the Pontes.
So
After,
is it numbered here? One?
right, one is what I'm reading.
Yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it starts hello all. After not being able to physically attend, okay, this is from the Pontes.
Oh, there's two ones. Okay.
Last night's city council meeting and attempting to participate via the Zoom link, I felt it was important to send a note of concern. While I try to attend meetings in person as much as possible, I appreciate the option to attend virtually through Zoom. The audio from council members to those in the room amongst themselves and to video participants was inaudible, garbled, and when this was brought to the attention of council, not much effort was made to fix the problem that many were complaining about. One person cited the Brown Act, so I thought I should look into it myself. I have attached a copy for you to look at, in particular under 1, Basic Provisions, Section E. The last line clearly reads, it requires the public hear all council deliberations, which would include all items on the agenda and discussions. I believe everyone who wants to participate in city government using all the tools available should have that opportunity. It appears the Brown Act also supports this. I ask that before the next meeting, an effort is made by the council or city staff to ensure all meetings meet the requirements for teleconferencing under the Brown Act. Thank you, Lori Ponte. And then I responded, hi, Dave and Lori. Thank you for your email. It's been over a year that the governor of California has ended the mandate for Zoom meetings. Many entities have discontinued this service. Between recording our meetings and providing Zoom accessibility, it's been very challenging for our staff to ensure all technology will be perfect. We do everything we can to make this happen, but glitches do occur and they do not indicate any lack of transparency on the council's behalf. We have a disclaimer on our agenda that, quote, live meeting logistics will be prioritized. The quality of the Zoom teleconference meeting cannot be guaranteed. Technical challenges experienced by either the participant or the city will not interrupt or halt the progress of the meeting, unquote. This disclaimer has been reviewed by our attorney and deemed appropriate. Again, thanks for your email. Sincerely, Blue Lake Mayor Adeline Jones. Now, then they sent 3, which is Adeline, thank you for your prompt response. I understand that Governor Newsom agreed California Assembly Bill AB 2449 in 2022, which imposes 4 periods of differing rules on remote access to public meeting under the Brown Act. I am sure more changes will come when this bill sunsets or changes January 1st, 2026. While AB 2449 explains most of the changes in regard to the legislative body, I am assuming council and staff members in this circumstance. Attendance. My point of concern is the difficulty the public has in remotely hearing the legislative body, staff, and public in attendance of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, AB 2449, Section 49 or 54954.3, it does require the legislative body to provide a way for the public to, quote, remotely hear, visually observe, and remotely address the legislative body in real time, unquote. I realize the limited resources of staff and appreciate everyone. I also do not want the progress of meetings interrupted or halted. They are long enough anyway, but I believe this is an important problem to fix. The city council and staff have been aware of the issues with the inadequate quality of the Zoom feed for at least the last two city council meetings. The disclaimer on the agenda should not give the legislative body, council, and staff the ability to ignore the current problem, particularly if it is an equipment issue. I would hope to hear from council's attorney for better clarification. I would also like to know what fund, if any, is in the works to support council and commission meeting recordings by Justin Goad. I was not able to clearly hear that discussion at Tuesday night's meeting. Thanks again, Lori Ponte. And then she attaches the Brown Act.
There's
Ryan's.
I would like to make note that what she marked in here for us to read, it only is for when one of us is not here and telecommuting from some another location.
Which is what Ryan's response was.
Right.
That's-
So
exactly.
yeah, and you're right. Okay, so then Mr. Plotz, who I CC'd all this to him, and he wrote, "Thank you for your response and time. As AB 2449 explains the rule regarding council member use of remote participants for just cause and emergency circumstances, it doesn't make clear that this ruling applies to offering public access only when a council member is attending remotely. The city members and staff are aware of the Zoom link issues, and I am hopeful they will work to make meetings going forward fully accessible to the public, as explained in AB 2447. It does make it clear that the public needs to have the ability to hear, see, and address the legislative body in real time. There is also a reference when a broadcast is disrupted. Does the disclaimer on the agenda discount the language in the ruling? Meetings last such a long time. Oh, wait a minute.
You're
That's
crossing
hers.
over two different ones there.
That's hers. Meetings last such a long time that any disruption is highly undesirable, as I am sure everyone would agree. Thank you again, Lori. Well, then where is the bottom of that? Oh, okay. These are not in order. Okay. The attorney writes, Ms. Ponte, thank you for raising your concern regarding the quality of the audio. As for AB 2449, this legislation does not obligate the city to provide a remote platform for the public to attend. Instead, AB 2449 provides a method by which members of the city council may attend remotely for either just cause or emergency circumstances. AB 2449 does require a two-way platform for the public to participate remotely, only when a council member is attending remotely under AB 2449. Did I just read this?
Yeah.
Here, God. I'm getting all good.
It's in both emails.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I think I've done enough reading.
Well, the bottom sentence is the big one.
Oh, absent this circumstance, there is no obligation to allow the public to attend remotely. The city does offer this as a courtesy for those that may not be able to attend in person. However, attending in person remains the best option as we cannot control the quality or availability of remote options. That is the reason for the disclaimer on the agenda. Thank you. Ryan T. Plotz. Thank you. All right, yes. Yeah, and there's even some rules. If you're a city council person and you can't show up at a meeting and there's other people in your household at the time that you're zooming in, you have to have them all swear an oath.
You have to put if I read if you're at a hotel, you have to put the sign on the door and have your door unlocked for people to come in and join the meeting if they want to. Say if you went on vacation and wanted to join a meeting, you'd have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of entities that don't have Zoom anymore. And I'm not going to say that we're going to do that, but it should
No.
be a priority to have meetings run smoothly. And if
Yeah,
it can't be
I
running
agree.
smoothly, I don't want to spend time on, technology. We spent about 45 minutes all total that last meeting trying to work out the technicalities. That made a 9 o'clock meeting go till 9:45. Um,
You have a hand up.
uh, yeah, Lori Ponte.
So I have to appreciate the fact that I could attend your meeting in person, and I decided to come back home to see if I could attend it on Zoom, and I have it. And so I think whoever worked this out, to make this happen, I think this is a great service for everyone and anyone who needs and wants to attend via Zoom. I don't appreciate the fact that you read that last bit of my correspondence with your city attorney backwards, because I think it confused the issue, and I appreciate the fact that you really don't care. But I would like to make clear, now yes, that facial expression is obvious on Zoom too, there. I would like to make clear that the Brown Act, which I didn't truly give a whole lot of information or things to or need to know, which I believe I've gotten a lot more information about, um, isn't flexible. It's pretty standard, and it's something that needs to be followed when you are in a public meeting, a public venue. And I think if you read the attachment that I sent with you and gave you, they are also trying to come up to the standard of using technology, which is Zoom, to allow access to public meetings. And so I appreciate the fact that today's meeting was very audible and clear and available to anybody that's attending it on Zoom. And that was my purpose of coming to you, giving you what I had. And I appreciate the fact that you included it, and it should be attached to the correspondence because it was part of the whole conversation. But there isn't, well, the Zoom doesn't get to decide how we choose Zoom. It is covered in the Brown Act. It needs to be followed. Aspect is that roll call was people work and voting consent, and that's included in that information that I can. So I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I just want to make sure that everybody who needs to use Zoom, who wants to use Zoom, has access to it. And I appreciate that this meeting was very audible. And I would hope that all of the council members, the people involved, read what I handed you, not just assume because we all have the ability to learn more. And I appreciate the fact that I have this opportunity to speak to you. I don't feel like that conversation with the attorney through email was complete because I didn't get a final response. So hopefully, if there's any discussion, any clarification that needs to be made on my part or on council's part, that is done with your city attorney. Because I think that's what we all do. So thank you.
Kat and Erica, and then Julie.
Hi, this is Erica Dykos. I just wanted to request that there be a bit of what you read, Mayor Jones was not included in either the agenda or in the packet for tonight's meeting. And I want to request that the agenda and the packet be addended to include all that you did read so that we can have an opportunity to review those documents in their completeness.
Okay. Julie?
Yes, I, hey, thank you for filling out on this, correspondence, because I did recommend that we, give this to the beginning, I said to one of the meeting, and I knew this was a good position to have. Since, agenda items, you reflected, the agenda item. Lori, thank you, and thank you guys for doing that and stuff, but I'm calling you guys out right now. I know exactly what was happening to you guys do, because what you just told all by Justin. And I'm not gonna be explicit on it, but I do know staff has the ability to do a lot with their volume. And it was recorded multiple times. And miraculously, when Justin sat down, this was fixed. And now that we have a problem that was made more apparent, we now have a solution. We have multiple times that you're supposed to be delegated, etc. It was voted by council to have them, it was voted by council to be told them. So as much as you'd like to say that you do not have to provide these things, please go back to the memo, so we will vote on the same. And I've been advocate for it, and, 2021. We have actually downgraded and have to say if you bill. When we were originally into the year, with finance and the council, we were paying sharing, and you bring us about to commission. You have the ability to make that as a presentation on the real and screen share. And I would not accept that other municipalities do not facilitate it. That is a false statement, and council access will assure my statement on that. So thank you. Please continue to be diligent.
Okay, this item was council correspondence, and there was one other correspondence from Kent Sawatsky. To Annalee, I appreciate you providing 2.04.020 agenda preparation and posting. Item D states any member of the public may request an item be placed on the agenda. It further states, however, since many matters may be resolved or satisfied by city staff, the public should contact city staff first to determine if the specific issue needs or even requires action by the city council. A fair legal argument can be made that should a member of the public not feel that a specific issue has been resolved by city staff and that it falls within the purview of the city council, it shall be put on the agenda. This is the case regarding the following request to have an item put on the next Blue Lake City Council meeting. Should staff clarify why city staff should bill 2/3 of their pay bill roll expenses to the sewer and water funds rather than reflecting actual time spent on the many funds the city has? And why the city manager bills 3/4 of their pay roll expenses to the sewer and water funds rather than reflecting actual time spent on the many funds the city has. I could understand not putting that topic on the agenda. Should staff decide to attempt to clarify, please have them do so by email prior to the cutoff date and time for items being placed on the agenda. Therefore, we will all have a record. Clearly, the required accounting accuracy and a failure to do so by the city staff falls within the purview of the Blue Lake City Council. The item I wish to put on the agenda is as follows: discussion and potential action regarding how the city staff payroll expenses are distributed amongst the city fund accounts. Please acknowledge receipt of this request and forward it to appropriate city staff for comments or clarification. I also request that this be read into the record at the next Blue Lake City Council meeting as correspondence to the council. Kat Sawitsky. Thank you. I know I have it. It's just been buried.
Yeah. Saw that.
Okay. Is there any other council correspondence, Mandy?
No.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh,
Comment.
okay. Kent Sawatsky.
I have an outstanding public records request. You basically have a payroll system where if somebody doesn't put down specific hours, this is what automatically submitted. I did some outreach to other entities. Oh, I did wish to make comment on the other entities dropping Zoom. I'm sure other entities have, but I'm not aware of any city council or the county or any of those meetings allowed them before that do not continue to have Zoom. So you would be an exception to that rule. I think maybe the Harbor District quit, but they're the poster child for non-transparency. You may not want to join that group. This particular topic is of major concern. Our sewer and water rates are based upon how much money is charged to these funds. If you look at the funds here, if I recall, the city manager has a 3/4 of them charged there. 10% goes to the general fund, and then I think one other thing, maybe Powers Creek gets a small amount. That's not how time's spent, and so it actually is fraud, in my opinion. I'm required to go ahead and give you notification of this. Have you addressed the issue? Should you not desire to see? I think Mr. Edgar thinks this is kind of humorous, but I picked up the grand jury form, and I also have potential contact with the state attorney general and the PUC on this topic. So we'll see where that particular thing goes. And it's always interesting to see somebody on their phone during a communication here. That's me.
I have a life outside of this. I'm talking to my daughter.
Step out of the room, please.
Yeah, it's okay.
If you're not paying attention, you might as
You
well.
should address the other people that do it too. Then
I'll address all of you who do it. That's fine. So anyway, that's a separate topic. We don't need to go there at this time. But I strongly think that you should have a closed session item as soon as possible to go ahead and discuss this. I'm waiting for my public records request to verify how payroll has gone with the city manager's account. And I did contact, I think it was Rio Del, their city clerk down there. Total between sewer and water is, I think, 27% of their time is billed to that. I contacted Mr. Eli over in the city of Trinidad, and his estimate of time he spends is not 3/4 of his time, but it's 20%. They don't have the same sewer system we have, but he does have time and everything. So you're going to find that that something's wrong here, and I think you guys should take care of it instantly. Otherwise, you will be complicit to the fraud that's being done upon the public, and we wish to have this taken care of. Potentially large water and sewer refunds are justified. You cannot go through a process and not charge the correct amount. It's an accounting principle. Everybody's things should be going to the correct fund. Public Works, Parks and Recs, all these things have to be correct. If they're not done, you're not following the standard accounting principles, and you're up to a lawsuit. Thank you, Mr. Speak.
Is there any other council correspondence? All right, we'll move on then to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Council minute meetings, warrants and disbursements, authorize the city manager to negotiate a lease agreement with Jocks Organic Chocolates. They're coming back. And authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a memorandum of understanding with Providence Redwood Memorial for the continued use and operation of the Skinner store. Is there anyone that would like to pull anything from the consent agenda? I just have a couple of things on the minutes. Just spelling, Lynn Glenn and Julie Christie are misspelled. Lynn is Lin, Glenn, and Julie Christie is Christie, I think. I don't think that's a K. Anyone else want to pull anything from the agenda or the consent agenda?
Are we pulling the minute?
Sure.
I mean,
It's not a
pull it to make
substantive change.
It's not
It's just
it's not a real change. I meant to email you about it. I would have just emailed you about the spelling, not anything substantial. All right. In that case, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Angela Shull, second by Elizabeth McKay to approve the consent agenda. Further discussion from council? Any discussion from public? Julie?
Thank you for noticing that I did notice it in one small part. I wasn't gonna comment on it. I do want to say though, I'm concerned that we have minutes from February. We're in May, so you know about concerns and we'll put it for a second, but let's look at thoughts and ending up.
Kent Sawatsky?
I think this has to do with the disbursement, your check registry also. That's on consent, I understand. Is that correct? Yeah, I did wish to make note that there was an item on there. A few of them I had questions on. One which I saw an appraiser made an appraisal, I believe, on the water tank thing, and I think the cost was $6,000. I wanted to bring that to your attention. I also strongly support continuing the contract with Jacques down there. My understanding is I was one of their first landlords, and I built a place in Eureka on Old Town. Fantastic person. We need to keep these few people we do have left in business. Apparently, their business they sold off, it sounds like, and it went, the current owner, prior owner to now went bankrupt, and he's taking it back. So we strongly need to do whatever we can to negotiate these leases in a fair manner to keep these few people we have left who are willing to participate in Blue Lake's business. Thank you.
Can I ask what the $3,000 to Eureka Broadcasting Company is?
That's our marketing campaign that we do.
Marketing
So
for
we
what?
market all the events in Blue Lake. We market all of our parks and recreation, skating programs, and Annie and Mary Day, anything that brings people out to Blue Lake.
Is that an annual fee?
It's a no, it's not an annual fee. This is our second year working with Eureka Broadcasting. So it can change. It changes depending on what our budgets are, what our needs are, and then the number of events that we're hoping to promote.
So
it
is
increases in the summer.
It's part of our
what is
marketing.
this $3,000? What period of time is that paying for?
It's for a year.
Oh, okay.
All right. We had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It passes.
We are now on council reports of council and staff. Chris, did you attend any meetings you would like to report on? Okay. Elise, did you attend any meetings you'd like to report on?
Did attend meetings. I don't have my notes with me. The I was at a Public Safety Commission meeting early in the month. We have a new commissioner on the Public Safety Commission. We talked about a lot of different things, but I don't think I have anything specific to report there. I was at an RCEA meeting last week. We spent some time on budget and talking about how the CPUC, who is currently the CPUC consists of 5 members appointed by the governor, and I think I might have mentioned this last month how one of the new regulations going to the community choice aggregators, of which RCEA is one, is that we have to procure resource adequacy for not just a monthly average, but a slice of day. So we've gone from having to purchase resource adequacy certificates for 12 sections of the year to 288 sections. Now, what that's done is make certain kinds of energy completely unaffordable. So what the board voted to do this week is to basically reduce our carbon goals, our no carbon goals, and renewable goals to the down to a much lower degree. We had some very high, lofty goals of carbon-free energy going forward, but essentially, with the new regulations, that is just not possible. So RCEA is going to be reducing our goals for resource adequacy over at least the next budget year, and hope that the CPUC comes to their senses and changes some of this, because it's just really driving inflation, and the industry just isn't ready for the goal for what they're trying to make us do.
What
So-
was the part that's going to cost more? Was it the coal that was going to cost more, or for the carbon ones that's cost more?
No, it's the carbon free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those ones are going to cost more.
Well, it's costing right now. The industry can't provide it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
we're looking for a 24-hour day, and so much of it is solar. And once the solar is no longer online and the batteries are depleted, then we have the overnight power generation that's coming from coal, natural gas, nuclear, all the things that are not solar and battery. And so the prices have just gone completely out of the world, and way, way, way beyond the cost of generation. And it just doesn't exist. Maybe in 5 years it'll exist, but right now it doesn't, and we're being forced to buy it now for a period of time where there just isn't enough. So anyway, it's a kind of a crazy equation.
Backwards mapping.
Yeah.
Can you remind me who the new council member is, or the new not council member, the
Planning commission.
on the planning commission, who the new person is?
On the planning commission.
I thought
Planning?
you said safety.
Not
Or
planning.
I said safety.
Sorry,
Oh,
safety.
it's
Safety. Yeah,
it's
sorry.
Ed Nickerson.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that all you have?
Yeah, I think that's all.
Meetings? Okay. Well, I went to a lot of meetings. This many. I've got so much paperwork. I discussed earlier how on May 3rd, the League of Cities met in Rio Dale, and we had a league meeting first where they go through all the legislation that's coming up with at the state level and the recommendations from the league. And then we did have a tour of the cannabis farm, as I mentioned, and then we had a dinner at Scotia, which was Scotia Inn, which was very nice. The next meeting that I went to was the Humboldt Waste Management Authority meeting at 5:30, and we passed our budget that night, but we had to have another meeting in 2 weeks because there was something left out of the budget that we had to vote on. The next meeting I went to was the chamber, which I will let Angela was really the person that was the liaison there because I was just there because I'm in charge of the vendors and we're up to 18 now vendors. And then I attended the Humboldt County Association of Governments meetings on the 16th, and I have all the information there if you would like to read it. Nothing really new, but we did have our findings of our unmet transit needs. So there was a long discussion about bus routes and that kind of thing. And then continuing with the meetings. Oh yeah, then the HWMA had to have a meeting at 4:30 on Monday the 20th. So I went to that meeting, and I think that's it. All right. Oh no, I'm sorry. Then I was the alternate for the Blue Lake Economic Development Commission meeting on Tuesday, May 14th. And they talked about the Blue Lake Community Vision Update, branding and signage project. They discussed the town square construction, the sports complex development concept. There's an idea where the B&B bathroom company is in the district. There's an idea for some folks to come in there and build a what they call a sports complex. The container village development concept was discussed. The bike park development, Botawat community project, the northern side of Taylor Way master plan and parcel subdivision, and the Powers Creek restoration project update. And then they went through the Parks and Rec event schedule for the summer. Okay, that did it for me. Next.
So REDEC was canceled this month. It's always canceled in May due to Memorial Day. And then the only other meeting that was this month was Annie and Mary Day, or was the chamber, because we just talked about Annie and Mary Day. And with the vendors that Adelina is working to get, and then the music that Humboldt Folklife Society is organizing. There's going to be some increased publicity for it this year, which is really kind of exciting. I know last year I tried to drive down Greenwood at 4:30 and the street was full of cars, which was nice because there was people in town spending money. So, but that's pretty much it for chamber. They are looking to do another mixer potentially out at Camp Bauer in September, and looking to partner with McKinleyville, particularly on that chamber event to garner more support. That's it.
Okay, I also attended the League of Cities down in Rio Dell, and we listened to Speaker Nick Crawford, who was amazing, and the work that he's done there in Rio Dell to help pull them back together. And he just talked about a lot of the work that he does. And then I went to the Arts and Heritage Commission meeting, first one in a long time. And we discussed different ways to bring art into Blue Lake with the idea of painting hydrants, art-based traffic calming. We talked about the Powers Creek district master plan and saw a slideshow about ideas that are going around for different types of development that could be done there. And we talked about switching the time and day, and it will now be the second Monday of every month at 6 p.m. because their time conflicts with this using this space. So that's been a problem.
Okay, thank you all for attending those meetings, and remember that you are liaisons to these meetings and not really members of the meeting, so you want to be more of a watching and recording what happens.
I forgot to say I went to the Parks and Rec meeting. I don't
Oh,
want
I
them.
wondered
I don't
if
want
you
them.
had.
I don't want them to feel left.
I was waiting for someone to say that, but I wasn't sure who was the person. So you did have one.
We did.
Okay. And
we have a great commission.
I
We have some
know.
new members, and it's
Yeah.
very lively, and there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. And
Yeah.
new chairperson is Jan Henry, and she's owning it.
Oh, great.
And yeah, so we had a really great had a great meeting, just talking about lots of events, things coming up.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I that was in the back of my mind. I thought, I think they had a meeting actually.
We did.
and
I
you
should
were
have
the
mentioned too that
liaison.
the Public Safety Commission was attended by somebody from the Sheriff's Department whose name is escaping me at the moment. Anyway,
Oh.
Captain somebody.
Okay.
Anyway, so we had a nice conversation about
His
law
role
enforcement-
in Blue Lake? Is he
law
going to be
enforcement.
our captain?
No.
Not going to be
No,
here.
it's not captain. I can't remember. Anyway, it was a good meeting.
Okay.
Also,
Ah. All right. Our city manager report includes the sheriff contract negotiations, and of course, we finalized that this evening for the 190,000. Under Parks and Rec, the town square construction project is going on, as we're all very aware of. The Arts and Heritage Commission is choosing some colors and stamp patterns for the concrete areas in this town square. North Fork Lumber has committed to donating the lumber for the shade trellis. And then the bike park, sorry, bark
Pike.
I don't know. Staff recently conducted a meeting with our bike park stakeholders, and they discussed their timelines and their work days. Summer camp is moving forward, and I've noticed that it's going to have a theme every week, which is really exciting. And the first week is Aloha Week, which is just really fun. And every one of the weeks sounded like something really fun going on. Annie and Mary Day, staff are working to prepare the city for Annie and Mary Day. Planning the Bill Nessler car show is always fun to get the weed whacking and the streets ready for that. Concerning capital improvements, the Greenwood Road lateral replacement project is in progress, as we're all aware, and the Greenwood Road Truck Improvement and Construction Project has been closed for bidding, as we decided this evening. And the wastewater treatment plant headworks installation project has been completed. The work was performed by Mercer Fraser. library improvement project, we discussed that, the ADA ramp. Then under property negotiations, we've negotiated into an exclusive agreement for the possible purchase or lease of the city courtyard. That was past meeting. City staff are discussing with Jim Morehouse and James Brown regarding property development and acquisition for property located in Powers Creek. And then concerning the Blue Lake Power Plant, the city has legally obtained control of the former Blue Lake Power Plant site. And when I took my bike ride yesterday, I noticed a big sign on the side of the fence that says property of the city of Blue Lake. So that's pretty exciting. The city will work with our resource agency partners and permitting agencies to address cleanup issues along with development of a request for proposal to site cleanup and demolition. Concerning the Powers Creek District Master Plan and Parcel Subdivision, Storyland Studios has created a draft master plan for the Powers Creek District. And this is funded by the Economic Development Administration. And then planning and engineering projects include the FEMA water tank funding, which is ongoing, the housing element update, which is ongoing, and staff working closely with our HCD representatives to address implementation of various initiatives. Okay.
Can you tell us, like, I remember seeing Jim Morehouse and James Brown's proposals in the fall of 22. Are they kind of resurrecting that at this point, or what's this?
Yeah, so we've been having discussions about getting the ENA signed. Council had given authorization to enter into the ENA. And so um, I don't think things so much stalled out as they slowed down. They had been working to try and get some drawings pulled together and some ideas and concepts, and that had kind of slowed down. I think their architect had a lot of projects on their plate, and so they were just kind of working through that process. But they are enthusiastic about getting that signed. So we sent over the revised draft just with updated dates last week, and they said that they would be working to get that executed. So I anticipate we'll be entering into an ENA with them very shortly as well. So that'll be good. That's two properties that we'll be actively pursuing development options and scenarios for.
And then the sheriff's contract, what's the status of the 23-24 contract?
We have a 23-24 contract, and we don't. I mean, it's the
There been
existing.
a settlement made in terms of the cost?
We have a contract with an existing amount, and there are no signed amendments or authorized amendments. So we have a contract in place for the amount that we had going into the budget year.
Bold and strong on that one.
Any other questions or comments on the manager's report? Public input on the manager's report? Julie and then Kent.
Yes, thank you. I would like to just family excited to the Anthony back in our person rec. She's was running the show when I was a little hood right now Skate Lake, and I think she's got a lot of historical applications to bring back to the city. So thank you, Keith, for making sure she got some credit for that. I would like to go, maybe not get our manager report so much for the council and manager or mayor, excuse me. I think it's important that through commission meetings, it's almost like the manager runs the meetings. I feel like when it's time for a management report for council, well, it's actually being recorded, that we get thorough manager report and not takes time, but hey, we've got a lot going on and it's still sad, it's still being like, we'll be just something of my storm and do so productive we do. And but I think it's when we have this stuff recorded, we need no manager report. We get them out of the commission, so they're not recorded, so it's not public access, okay, so think about those two things. Thank you.
Kent?
I'd like to kind of second what Julie said. I know that that you spent a lot of time reading things that we have. I think it would be nice to hear Mindy tell us about what's on her report.
Ken Swatsky, regarding the FEMA subsidy or the FEMA grant process for the water tanks. I believe this portion of the grant, if you read the thing later on, the tanks are anticipated to be funded as far as being replaced. This part is for design portion, and you have your cart in front of your horse. Until you have such time as you have a lease that would enable you to do something, why would you design something when there's a very good chance that that tank will not be allowed to be on that property? And what is the public perception? It wouldn't be allowed on the property. It's because of the same reason we don't have a working relationship with the tribes. They're coming out, they're getting their own sewer water system. We're going to take a hit on that. But another topic on this one is if somebody can't get along and work with your city manager, and that's something that will impede the process. In other words, if it was my property, I would not be engaging in any kind of agreement with the city of Blue Lake when your city manager was still your city manager. And that's the level of lack of cooperation you get when you have somebody who can't work with people in the public. And so it's very unlikely, and it's totally up to the owner there what she does. But I definitely wouldn't do a design until you actually had a lease that was acceptable to her, if you're ever going to get one. So thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Any further discussion, public input? Yes, Aaron.
Erin McClure, sorry, I drove 14 hours with a load of horses today, so pretty tired to get here. But thanks for Ken for saying all that. He's absolutely right. And the cart is before the horse. And the other thing is that you are all aware that I've had a horrible trespassing problem with that property, which is even worse now. The people that go up there, many people in this room have been caught on the cameras. The other thing is that people are now telling me that the city leases this property and we can come on it anytime that we want. So I've now very active with the sheriff's department and I will not put up with that. So Marty Granger, Jennifer Kramer has actually even invited people to my property. So I would be very grateful to all of you if you could put a stop to some of that. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other comment on our reports of council and staff? Just a couple of announcements I want to make. The Wanika plant sale is June 8th, Saturday from 10 to 1. We all know Annie and Mary Day is July 14th, Sunday. And tentatively, we have the citywide yard sale set for Saturday, August 17th. More information to follow on that. Future agenda items.
Can we get something from the city attorney in regards to Councilmember Edgar being on both city payroll and on the council? My
He's
assumption,
already provided it.
perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, my assumption is that that was all cleared through the city attorney.
It was
So
cleared prior to any job
okay,
offers being made.
okay, and I assumed that had most likely happened, but I didn't know if that was something that could be read publicly.
hmm
You know.
I can provide. I'll send it to all the council members.
Perfect. Thank you much.
Are we in need of a separate meeting in June, another meeting in June because of our budget, or what
Yeah,
is the
typically we have two
recommendation here?
meetings in June. We do the second Tuesday. We do kind of a presentation of usually it's the major funds. Usually the city accountant has the major funds done and is ready to present those. And then at the fourth meeting in June, or the fourth Tuesday in June, he'll do the final presentation of the budget.
So that would be the 11th of June then, Tuesday? Because that's the ECD meeting that you were telling me I
Yes.
need to go at
Yeah,
4:30.
sometimes they're
And
back
then
to
this
back.
one is at 6:30.
Yes.
Maybe we could do this one at 7.
No.
No, she doesn't
No.
want that.
So I
Okay.
work early in the
And
morning.
anything, let's do it earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I have another meeting. I have
And
the
the
economic
meeting's
development.
right here, so you can
Yes.
just bring your sleeping bag.
I can make an adjustment for EDC because I'll have to be at that too. So if we want to, I can put out something to
For
the,
2 hours.
it usually does.
It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
think that could maybe be earlier? All right. So we want to have a meeting on June 11th at 6:30. And that will be just budget.
Yes. Unless there's anything
Yeah,
critical
if
that comes
there's
up,
something
but
that comes up.
we always
we have to-
reserve that second
Yeah.
Tuesday for that.
And then our regular meeting on the 25th.
Mhm.
Okay.
I will not be in attendance at either.
You will
I
not
will
be here
out
for
of
the budget.
country.
Okay, so we have to make sure that we are all here. There's
Just
three
saying.
of us.
Hop in our suitcase.
No surprise. I mean, I'm glad that you're going. Somebody's fun, hopefully.
Yeah, she is. Okay, any future agenda items? Any other? Okay. We'll be on item 15 then.
We don't have any future agenda items?
Budget.
That's it.
For the June 11th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okey-dokey.
All right,
A
we need a
motion to
motion
approve?
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Was this
Second.
on accident?
No, that's part of the one sentence. supposed to be-
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn made by Angela Schultz, seconded by,
Order, would we be able to make comments regarding future agenda items?
oh, all right. I suppose we could have a public input on future agenda.
Guess what? You have a document called the City of Blue Lake City Council Rules and Responsibility Protocol Manual. I hope you will consider putting that in the agenda for discussion sometime in the near future to update, so it reflects the current situation, and that you all familiarize yourself with that particular document, so that you won't find yourself in violation of those protocols, because that's where you're at right now. So they come up to you and speak.
All right, now we
A
are
future
at,
agenda item, sorry.
oh, okay.
I think we need to take a look at that document that Ken's talking about. Last time it was updated was in 2013. And it does have a statement in it that says that no council member can be employed by the city for 1 year after leaving office. So I think that's certainly not the same thing that we're doing. It's printed in black and white, so we should probably have a look at that document. And if it's not in alignment with how the city wants to conduct business, it should be brought into alignment.
Is that addressed in Brian Thomas's email?
You don't have a council member who's left office. So that's a circumstance.
All right, did you make a motion to adjourn?
I did.
All right,
I
Angela
seconded.
Shull made a motion, seconded by Elizabeth McKay to adjourn. Any further discussion? Lori Ponte?
On the motion to adjourn.
Is this on the motion to adjourn, Lori?
No, I was just wondering exactly what was Kent's, request, what document was he referencing?
Is that a future
Yes,
agenda item? That was a future agenda item.
And what was it?
I believe he was talking about the council handbook. Is that correct?
But it was supposed to be a future agenda item.
All right,
That, where is that?
all of our
City
documents
Hall.
are in the city hall and they're.
Oh,
they're-
yeah.
Accessible.
Yes, it's accessible. It's a matter of public record. All right, let's move on to motion to adjourn.
That's it, is that right? Or do I need to request that handbook? Or is it something that I can find in the council? Yeah, through the website?
Yeah, you can submit a public records request at City Hall and we will gladly help you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion
Aye.
made by Angela Shull, seconded by Elizabeth McKay to adjourn. All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.